Can a house be evil? Can it be evil in its stone foundations, in its wooden beams, in the glass of its windows, in the plaster of its ceilings? So asked Ben Mears in the 1979 adaptation of Salem's Lot. Less than 2 decades later, Shinji Mikami at Capcom asked that same question, and the result was Resident Evil. In spite of really campy acting, Resident Evil didn't just change video games. It shuffled into the collective psyche of a generation of gamers. The game had a killer premise. A SWAT team called STARS gets lured into a mansion in the middle of an American forest. There they meet flesh-eating zombies, killer dogs, murderous mutants, and unravel the mystery of an experiment gone horribly wrong. Resident Evil is dark Americana straight out of the 1990s. The only way to make it more 90s America would be like flannel shirts. 25 years later, the series is still going strong, and many of us are still fascinated with the first game. But why? What does this story tell us about ourselves? At its core, the original game isn't really about zombies or mutants or cops. It's about a house so corrupted that to find monsters there feels perfectly natural. The A story, or primary story, is a mystery about scientists experimenting with something they should not have, and the terror experienced by the cops who stumble into the aftermath. And if you don't expect Academy Award performances, that's an understatement, it's a lot of fun. But beneath the simple A story is the B story of an evil house. And this is where the game really resonates. There's so much wonder. How could a house this big stay secret? Why are its hallways full of ghastly artifacts? Why is the layout so confusing, like it's designed to trap people? And why are lethal traps integrated into dark and macabre artwork? And just as mysterious is that the house is not just an evil museum. It's also a living space for humans, with a huge dining room, tables and chairs, books, a grand piano, drinks and glasses, great windows and couches. 3 things are clear. First, people lived and worked here. Second, the designer had an obsession with death. And third, the mansion is designed to prevent the people living there from revealing a secret. As you play the game, discovering more and more messed up things becomes at least as enjoyable as solving its puzzles and dealing with the monsters. But you begin to wonder, who built this awful place? And what was their secret? It's only in bits and pieces, scattered over the game's 2001 remake and then its sequels, we learn the story of Oswell E. Spencer, a fictional British aristocrat obsessed with overcoming death and becoming a god over humanity. His transcendence, he believed, would be achieved by adapting his own DNA, by using a regenerative virus called Progenitor. While the idea is not original, I have to say that the game's use of the first movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata is genius. The song is about obsession. Beethoven supposedly wrote it about a woman with whom he fell madly in love as he watched her from afar. And those dark, fading notes work just as well to describe a man who fell madly in love with something else. Himself. The mansion is the temple of a man obsessed with overcoming death, so that he, the god of his own life, might never die. He is willing to sacrifice everything and everyone on this altar. So, in the home of a true monster, is finding other monsters really unexpected? Reanimated human corpses, zombie dogs, dangerous mutants, predatory giant plants, all of it seems normal, ignoring of course the physics that make it improbable. Why wouldn't the fruits of Spencer's labor be monstrous? Why wouldn't he curse into life creatures who don't kill to live, but live to kill? But you know, as much as I like the hunters and blowing them away, something else still fascinates me, far, far more than any monster in the house. It's the scariest thing in the house, if you ask me. It's the monster that brought in the human test subjects. The monster that buried the bodies. The monster that wrote up the reports, took out the garbage, and kept its mouth shut. It's the employees. The everyday enablers who for years looked the other way, shrugged, agreed not to talk about it or even to think about it. The paycheck or the research came first, and everything else was necessary to the purported cause of furthering science. this isn't as far-fetched as it seems. The so-called greater good inspires real horror stories to this day. When the scientific method was developed, it didn't have priests or temples, but since then, humans have ordained and built them. How do people get this way? Do we all declare ourselves gods until proven otherwise? And then, why do some of us bow so far to others, ignoring the peril to our souls and to humanity at large? To me, that's the real horror. It's scary to find what lurks in a hidden mansion. But sometimes it's a lot scarier to find out what keeps somebody from walking out of one.